All right, welcome back to another edition of Boundaries and Brotherhood. If you're watching this on my profile, my Facebook, we're gonna use this new system called Restream. I want to figure out what me and Doc is gonna be doing. But Doc, today's topic, right? Today's topic: how to deal with stress and anxiety as a man in today's society. While I get us all set up and ready to rock and roll, you let us know what we'll be going over. I'm gonna give you the helm right now, guys, in
Yeah.
case.
All right. So yeah. Good morning, everybody, or afternoon, or whenever you're watching this. I'm Dr. Keith Fairclough. Here with Gordon Watt. This is on Boundaries and Brotherhood. When today, guys, we're going to be talking about stress and anxiety in today's world with that we experience as men. Because we do experience a lot of stress. We do experience anxiety, and most of the time we don't even know it. We're not even aware of what we're experiencing. I actually just went to the doctor's the other day, and I was explaining to my doctor just what I was, what was going through, and I was like, man, I can't focus. I feel like, just like I'm overwhelmed and all these things like that. I actually didn't use the word overwhelmed. I just said like, so my mind just seems all over the place. And I was explaining to her all that I was doing, and she was like, it sounds like you're stressed. It was just crazy to think, because I'm a therapist who deals with this all the time. And you would think that I would know that out the gate, like I'm stressed, right?
Okay.
But nobody's perfect, right? And sometimes you get so caught up in the grind and moving forward, and sometimes the excitement of it and the responsibility of it and everything like that, that you forget that even though it's all good stuff, like it's not bad stuff. I've been having a lot on my plate. Like business has been like booming, praise God. My book, finally have that all written, so I got that to do. I just finished doing the script for on this very topic, and but regarding men of faith, and that's just a fraction. I'm talking about workbooks and reaching out to clients and setting this up and reading this and doing that, and then all my personals, like, and but you get, when you're in it, right? You're in the forest, like you're thinking only just about the trees, right? You miss what they say, you miss the forest for the trees. And so you get so caught up moving that you don't realize that you become stressed, because your body's like, we're not getting enough rest. Maybe our nutrition isn't the best. We haven't been working out like we need to. Our prayer time isn't like what it needs to be. And all the things that we would do to make sure we're mitigating the effects of stress, are all there, and
Absolutely.
even though I've, can then talk about anxiety as well, because they kind of go hand in hand, stress and anxiety. And we'll explain and kind of break down what they both are, because they're not the same. But even though like, it's not a fear, right? Because anxiety isn't about fear. And I think we talked about that in a previous podcast. But anxiety is not about fear. Anxiety is about, it's a threat detection. It's like, hey, something coming up. We don't know if we necessarily have the capacity to handle it. Or the other form of anxiety, which people don't really actually know more often than not, is that overwhelming depression. And that's actually more so what I was feeling in that sense, because I was at max capacity, but I was still moving and beyond that without any type of recovery. And so I was feeling the effects of it, in the sense of that my mind was just like all over the place. It's like we're not functioning at 100% capacity, but like you're still going forward, So long story short, guys, today we're going to be talking about what that looks like in men. What anxiety looks like when we're talking about what stress looks like, and we might give you a couple of tips as far as like how to manage it, because we're not going to get it all in this time, because we're not going to be able to be on as long as we normally are. So yeah, I would say take notes. And if you're watching the replay, definitely run it back, pause it, whatever you need to do. So Gordon,
There will be a replay regardless of what on the Boundaries and Brotherhood channel. Like I said, we were ramping up for 2026 because our production level is about to go up. We've tested all of these things. We've tested everything out up to this point. We've close to 1,000 subscribers between the two channels. But I want to tell you, if you're dealing with anxiety and you need help, guys, we have things for you. And if you want to work with Doc personally on everything else that, leave a comment, because it's streaming right now live on Facebook, live on YouTube, TikTok is also going there. So leave us a comment so we can put your comments out here. But Doc, even for you as a man, as a therapist, we all deal with stress, anxiety in certain ways. What are some of the key things you could tell us that we could, besides the breathing and everything else, how do we catch it?
So how do you know if you're stressed out? Well, for one, I think it's going to be important for you to just kind of stop and just think about, for one, think about all the stuff that's going on in your life, right? Like do a
Mm.
comprehensive list. And on that day, like I said, when I met my doctor, I had made a comprehensive list. I literally made an audio recording I have, and it's like, you got to do this, and you got to do that, and you got to do this, and you got to do that, and this, and this, and that, and that, and that, and this. And it's all of this stuff, right? So make a comprehensive list of everything you got going on, your personal life, your professional life, and just take a look at it, right? And it will let you know, like, and you probably have a lot going on. Even if you're not doing it all at the same time, the fact that you have that much going on, especially when it's all up there in your head, your mind's running 100 miles a minute. It's 100 miles a minute, and so just because you're not necessarily doing it in the moment, it doesn't mean your mind's not keeping track of it, and that is draining energy. And in order for you to sustain this level of effort, your body has to kick on your fight or flight response, your stress response, in order to get the energy, right? So you can keep moving forward. So because the thing is, stress doesn't necessarily have to be an outside, triggered by outside stimulus. It literally becomes triggered just by how you think. And being overwhelmed is generally not because what we have to do on the outside. It's generally because of how we perceive it in our own mind. And that's what kills our capacity, not the actual thing. So I would say, as far as like being able to identify, you got to stop. First and foremost, just stop whatever you're doing, and just really stop and think and make a comprehensive list of all the stuff you have going on, so you can actually recognize, like, dang, I am stressed, right? I had to make that list and talk to someone for them to be able to tell me, like, yeah, you are stressed, right?
What are some of, let me ask you this though, right? What are some of the most, what are some of your clients that are, what are some of the things that your clients are being stressed out about? Is it relationships? Is it things that's just man-made? Is it things that they don't know how to handle it? How are you telling your clients or the audience what can they do in case you're noticing that besides the checklist?
So I would say some of the things that stress my audience out, my clients out the most, relationships, and it might be just because when my other specialty is relationships, right, dealing with couples, so it would make sense that the people who are stressed with relationships tend to come and talk about that. But even before that became my specialty, because I was actually getting that even before I started studying relationships and couples and doing that work. So that's one of the biggest stressors is relationships and relationship dysfunction. I would say work. That's another stressor and dysfunction. Not dysfunction. That's another stressor that comes up a lot. I would say probably the second to couples is work. So career. Third, you could probably fill that in with a lot of other things. That could be kids, that could be extended family, that could be health issues, that could be you name it. But I would say the first two things are relationships and work, which makes sense because those are probably the two biggest domains in our lives as men.
Nice. I mean, because a lot of the times the stresses are like, and guys, if you're looking for any type of free assessment that you can have a scan that code right here on the right. We're gonna leave this up for a little bit. It's a free assessment to get into our ecosystem where we're gonna be providing a lot of things for you. We have PDFs, workbooks, assessed things that's gonna go on for 2026 because there's a lot of stress going on in the world, guys. Pick up your phone, swipe that thing, scan that code, it'll go to assessment and we'll get the notification for it. Because me and Doc's Boundaries and Brotherhood channel that we created is here to help men so that you don't unalive yourself, right? Because that's the main thing for us to do. So you don't go down this path of just doing the most craziest things. And that's why we built this channel to help you deal with stress, get out of the anxiety, how to become the 11th man, the sovereign man, right? We have things that's coming around to become the sovereign man, whether it's like, in fact, we're going to give you an example right here, right? If you look at this slide right now, I want you to learn to get out of the stress level to command value. And here's a special thing, just a simple framework that we have going on that you might have access to. All you have to do is leave us a comment. But Doc, let me ask you this, right? How does one deal with stress when it's too much?
Oof. Usually, well, so there's two ways people deal with it, right? Especially as men, we tend to try to forge and push forward, right?
Okay.
Continue to put ourselves on the back burner, continue to go harder, go more. But we get to a point where our bodies are like, yeah, we can't keep going. And so unfortunately, we might succumb to like substance abuse, right? Something to help us either continue to push forward, or if it becomes too much, something to kind of numb us out, so we don't have to think about it, as we continue to trudge forward. Obviously, neither one of these is healthy. Also explosive outburst. That's another way that we'll handle it. So it'll just become too much, and then someone will say something or do something, and then we'll explode. Sometimes it'll just be verbal, but unfortunately, some other times it might be physical. And sometimes taken out on our husband or our wives.
Partner.
I usually work with couples until I go back and forth, right? So, but sometimes they'll be taken out on our wives. Sometimes they'll be taken out on our children. Sometimes they'll be, taken out on somebody else, a stranger, or anything like that. Unfortunately, Gordon, like you were saying, sometimes we might take it out on ourselves. I believe one of the number one reasons is, that, men unalive themselves is because we feel like we're alone, we're overwhelmed, and we don't think that we have any, way out, right? It's just the pressure becomes too much. Manning up is no longer working anymore. And so therefore we have to just go to the furthest extreme, right? Because we also try to do it alone. And so I would say, that's what it looks like when that buildup is there. Irritability is another one as well. We're easily irritable. I think I mentioned that a second ago, though. So substance abuse, irritability, self-injurious behavior, not like self-harm, but like, although some men self-harm, but, I'm talking about unaliving yourself, dropping everything and walking away, right?
It happens.
Engage in risky behavior. Some guys will become stressed out and they'll go and have an affair, or they'll go sleep around or something like that, and you wonder like what happened. It's just a lot of times it's that overwhelm,
Yeah, for me, it's all about commanding value within yourself, respecting yourself. Sure, you have added stress of family, kids, work, monetary, like you said, extended family. All of those come into a big factor. But at the end of the day, it is ye who controls everything else about what's going on, because everything is external. If you're seeking validation from other people, from other stuff for the wrong reasons, this will lead you down that path. How do I know this? Because I've done the substance abuse. I've done the leaving of my partners, women, kids, abandoned one of them, maybe even twice, right? But I'm batting 50-50 on that, so I don't even count it. That's just a justification I'm telling myself. But at the same time, dealing with stress, you need to have certain amount of tools. Like me and my wife could get into a situation, and it's so funny because the tools I've learned from the counseling, from the counseling I've had, it's so great to have. And that's what we want to offer you going into 2026 with the workshop, the challenges, and the assessments, because you get to work with me, somebody that has insights, that's been from the bottom of the barrel. In fact, let me share this with you, Doc, because just to go off topic, because remember that 2 weeks ago you had a kid that got shot on that freeway from the road rage incident, and I never told you this, right?
Yeah.
So he got shot. What I didn't tell you is that same cry that the stepdad had on the freeway jerked me back to when my dad cried like that for my stepbrother that died at kid birth when I was 4 years old.
Ooh.
Right. Wow. So when that happened, it came back to like, because when you think about all the stress trauma you had in your life, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you see that dad wail on that freeway that his kid got shot, reminded me, I already was going through a divorce, and then that happened. They took me back. And look, I still got like skin, right? And I never dealt with that trauma.
Mm-hmm.
You look at it, and then you kind of wonder why I messed up. Because back in the day, you don't have that type of counseling. They didn't think nothing of it, right?
Mhm.
So now when you have stress to that level, and it triggered me because when that happened, I can only imagine the pain, but I also am thinking to myself, what about me?
Mhm.
Why is they going through divorce? And to see that guy on the freeway rolling around yelling at that pain in his choice took me back. And I remember that I can only imagine the type of stress he has. How does he deal with that?
Mhm.
Right? Because that is so deep. I just want to share that with you because you helped me bring that out, and it also helped me to deal with it.
Yeah.
But you didn't even know
No.
that.
Well, I'm glad I was able to be of help, man. Yeah, because that's well, for one, I'm sorry that your father and you had to even experience that. And then condolences to the that father who lost his son. I mean, I can't. I mean, imagine that level of stress. And Gordon, it's just like what you said. Men will hold on to that by themselves.
Absolutely, yeah.
Literally hold on to that by yourselves. I can't imagine holding on to that level of grief by myself. I can't even imagine being in that level of grief. And I pray to God I never have to experience that. But no one should be carrying that alone. And there's so many lies and myths that we as men tell ourselves of what masculinity is, and that's one of them. We got to do everything by ourselves, or everybody else has problems. They have their own problems, so we don't have to. We don't share that with other people. And all these, and I'll share this. I don't want to go too far off topic, but all these myths and lies about masculinity that were created are really created so that we don't look weak and don't look vulnerable, right? Trying to excuse not feeling. It's trying to excuse not reaching out for help. It's trying to excuse not processing emotions. And so we create this facade of what masculinity is to hide our weaknesses, or what we think are weaknesses, right? And it's destroying us. It's absolutely destroying us. And as a matter of fact, I remember there was a scene in the movie Concussion. It was a Will Smith movie, and the movie was like a biography or autobiography. Well, I don't know if it was autobiography. It was biography of this doctor's life, African doctor's life, who discovered that concussions were causing NFL players to unalive themselves. And great movie if you haven't seen it. But there was one guy in there who you look at him and he's the classic alpha male. These guys are taking their lives. They're weak and they're pathetic, and that's why they're doing it. And they're soft. And then, and spoiler alert. So if you want to see the movie, you probably want to stop right here, go watch it, and then come back. But he ends up unaliving himself, right? Because he too had concussions. He was struggling by himself, and instead of reaching out for help, he suffered in silence, ended up unaliving himself. And that's because of these false myths that we can't ask for help. And how this all ties into what we're talking about, gentlemen, especially if you're hopping in just like in right now. The issue is, we need to ask for help. We're not designed to carry it alone. These lies are destroying us. And so because we do feel stress, we do feel emotion, and one of the other lies, men are logical and women are emotional. No, that's a lie. That's a lie. We're both emotional and logical. That's how the brain works. You can't shut one off and leave the other one on. It doesn't work that way. And when we start actually believing what's true and recognizing that it's okay to be human, it's okay to feel, it's okay to hurt, it's okay to be sad, it's okay to wail if you lose your loved one, and it's okay to have other men come around you and support you in that time, when you're not doing well, even 100%. If it's with you. I was as I was working on this study in this presentation, Gordon, about stress and anxiety for men of faith. There's Job in the book of Job, and anyone who's familiar with the book of Job, you look at what this man experienced. You cannot tell me that's probably not one of the most stressful things that you ever could experience. To have that back to back bad news. You lost all your wealth. And you lost your servants, and you lost your herds, and you lost your children, like back to back. And then a day later or so, then you lose your health, or maybe it's a little bit later, then you lose your health. Now you're sick, you're weak, you've lost everything, you're scraping like pustules off your body. That's stressful.
That's too much.
And you know what? Guess what happened? His friends came. Now, We're not going to go into the rest of it, but his friends came. You know what they did? They're like, dang, my friend's going through it. He's going to need some support right now, right? So at least in the beginning, they came, they just sat with him. They saw him, they wept when they saw him, you're right? And they just sat with him. They were there, right? So we need that. We're not designed to carry stress, by ourselves, and feeling anxiety about something doesn't make us weak. That's part of the human experience. And I think we got to be able to recognize that and realize that it's okay for me to feel overwhelmed. It's okay for me to be concerned about what the future holds, or my relationship or my finances or, my work. It's okay to feel that. And if you don't know what to do with that, that's why you reach out for help. That's why Boundaries and Brotherhood is here, right? So you can reach out, so you can get the help you need, and you don't have to do it alone. I even changed the tagline on my business. Before it used to be improve the world by improving you. And then I changed it to you are not alone, because I think that's a message.
Look at that. As soon as Doc said, what does that say? You're never alone on this journey.
Yeah.
Because there's a deeper meaning for why we do this. We see so much kids, dads, not in people's lives, unaliving themselves, turning to drugs, getting into jail, doing a lot of different things. Because I used to be one of those persons. And this is why I can relate to the people that you might be going through this right now. And this is why I have Doc and why we collaborated and made Boundaries and Brotherhood. And it all started, guys, get this. It all started with me going to Doc in his office at Real Talk, the building, and we made a logo. Remember that day?
Yeah.
Let's do this. Because now we want to help you guys get over stress, become valuable, have a life at home that you can be able to communicate with your wife, your kids, and have purpose in your life without having all this other stuff. Because if you're not doing it for the right reasons, or you're not finding purpose in your life right now and you're looking for a way out, right? Let us help you, because like the tagline says, you're never alone on this journey. Guys, you just gotta be able to actually take accountability for yourself, because accountability is the hardest thing you're going to be doing for yourself, right? But accountability is also something that you need in order to fulfill your destiny as a man. Not one of these assholes you see on YouTube, right? And everything else. You want to be able to take into consideration a lot of things. Ask for help when you need it, right? Because sometimes the ego cannot cash the check that's portrayed by other people wanting you to, right? Because that's deep right there. Because a lot of times when you want to cash that check and the ego's too big and you have no path, that thing will get you in a hell of a bunch of trouble. I can walk it. I can tell you that from experience.
True. Resources without purpose, that's a dangerous combination. That's a very dangerous combination, and granted, I know, Gordon, you can speak on it. I haven't been there, but I hear the story all the time where people, they get to a certain level and, and they've done exceptionally well, but they don't feel like they have any purpose, or people who come into a lot of money and they don't have purpose, that ego kicks in, because that's all that's there. Right? If it's all about me, then that's all that's there. And so then if that's the case, then, well, what's the best thing I can do for myself? Right. And I think, Solomon talked about that as well. And the crazy part, he already gave us this, the end point. He said it's all vanity. He said, I saw it. And mind you, Solomon was a multi-billionaire back in his day, like a multi-billionaire. He was a king, but he was multi-billionaire, most powerful country in the land, everything like that. Like everything, he was on top of everything. And he went to seek pleasure and everything, right? Really feed his ego, right? Women, money, treasures, everything. And he said, it's all for nothing. It's all for nothing, right? If you don't have a purpose, it's all for nothing. But what happens nowadays, Gordon, unfortunately, and hopefully we're not going to go too far off topic, guys, just stay with us. But this is true. But because it really does tie in, Gordon, because a lot of times, you'll be super successful. You don't have any purpose. You get stressed out, and so you look to your resources to help you. But unfortunately, because you don't have any purpose, what ends up happening is you end up start doing crazy things, right? You know, and then you wonder why these people come out and, you know, and I guess this is relevant today, but then you have someone like I don't know if Diddy would be a great example of that because, you know, I guess he could be because he had ego the whole time and he was, you know, he just did wrong by everybody. But, you know, because he had no true purpose, he didn't really want to add value and give back. That was never his goal. It was always about him. Look at how deranged he became. And so it's kind of the same thing with any of these other people you see coming out. They get deranged when they don't have purpose, and it's all ego. And so, gentlemen, we are here. Another part of it is not just, you know, I know we're talking about stress, but it's also about purpose as well. Guys, we need to identify our purpose so we can be the 11th man, so we can be the sovereign man, so that we can actually add value and change not just ourselves, but the world around us. You know, so yeah, moving from ego to purpose is critical, and especially when it comes to stress, because, you know, a lot of us can keep moving forward because we know, you know, there's something bigger than us. You know, yes. I keep going forward and doing my books and workbooks and programs and, you know, and studying and reading because it's bigger than us, and it's going to show up and it's going to help. Like a quick example, I was talking earlier this week. You know, I don't want to put my son on blast, but you know, his grades weren't the best in school, and he was going through it, right? You know, and so I got a chance to talk to him about his emotions, right? You know, and I made a safe place for him, and because I made a safe place for him, guess what he did? He opened up. He said, "Well, this is how I'm feeling," and I won't go into all the detail, right?
Yeah, nice.
Because you know, I don't have his permission or whatnot, but you know, but he opened up about how he felt. And when he opened up about how he felt, it changed the entire environment, the everything. And we got a chance to talk to him. And he was already adopting the idea of my feelings don't matter, or let me minimize my own feelings. And I said, no, son, don't do that. I said, don't do that. Don't, no. Acknowledge what you feel. That's okay. Because my son was stressed. He was overwhelmed. And he was like, well, I got to push through it. I'm like, no, don't push through it. Understand what's going on. Get the message. And let's go through it. And we had a phenomenal conversation. Then his older brother jumped in and started adding value. And so what I'm saying, gentlemen, is we're breaking generational curses, right? When you're able to start taking this on and start doing this, you're breaking generational curses. Now my sons know they don't have to do this alone. They don't have to be stressed and carry it. They don't have to do that. They can open up and say, I'm stressed. I'm going through it. And my thoughts and feelings matter. It doesn't matter if I think you shouldn't be stressed, because and I won't go too far off on this, but I had a client that was, you know, had that same mentality, right? You know, where she was talking to her sons and she was like, you got nothing to be stressed about, right? You know, and I'm like, well, you can't do that. You're dismissing their feelings. You're teaching them you got to do it alone, and your feelings don't matter. And unfortunately, a lot of us as men, that's how we operate. We think our feelings don't matter, so we don't acknowledge them. But the way our brain operates, it doesn't go away. No matter how much you say it doesn't matter, no matter how much you hold on to the lies the world has told you about what to be a man and masculine, what that is, that doesn't matter to your brain. Your brain does not care about that. Your brain cares about one thing and one thing only: keeping us alive. So even if you believe that it doesn't matter, your brain's like, yeah, it does. We're not going anywhere until you do something with it. And so we as men have to stop believing the lies. We have to recognize that I'm stressed. Slow down and realize something, or at least slow down and realize, according to, I think, one of your original question, slow down and realize I got a whole bunch of stuff going on. Hey, I'm not doing well. My mind isn't as sharp as it needs to be. I don't have the same energy. I don't have the same drive. I don't have the same motivation. Something is wrong. I got to stop. I'm more irritable. I'm blowing up on my wife. I need to stop. Just time out. Time out from meetings. Time out from responsibilities. Just time out. What the heck is going on? And really self-evaluate ourselves. And if you need help, then you need to reach out for help. Whether it's, you know, you could come to us, you can come get a therapist, or you can just stop and talk to someone and just be like, hey, this is all the stuff I have going on. And I can guarantee you, because I say the same thing all the time. Sounds like you're stressed. And when I say that, you know what they say? Oh, shoot, I didn't even realize it.
You don't. Right. Because you don't think of it.
You don't think of it.
You don't think of it one bit.
Yeah.
I mean, guys, if you're feeling stressed, guys, honestly, if you're feeling stressed right here, scan this code right here. You're going to see a little thing that goes around. It's free, guys. This is just to see where you're at, to see if you want to work at it. Pick up your phone, scan the code. I tested it out already. It's going to go see when it's going to get later on. You're going to be able to scan that code and get your free PDF workbook and an outline so you can have the things you need, the tools. We want to give you the tools. So when this comes up, that's besides the app that we got going on, right? But this code right here will take you to an assessment to see where you're at so that you can get the help you need from us or just privately from Doc. However you want to do it. This channel is based for you so that you can understand yourself and not feel like you can do it all alone, like Doc said. You mean what Doc said? The thing is, you don't want to do it all alone because why? You're never alone on this journey, like the thing says on the bottom. Right below, right here, it says you're never alone on this journey. This is what we made for. This is made for you guys so that you guys don't have to do anything crazy. Doc, with stress levels going so high, right? What are the three? I mean, we didn't even hit anxiety, but the time is running out.
Yeah.
The stress levels that's occurring right now to be validated or having self-doubt, which one or what's the combination of both so that they don't have to go through this?
The combination of what's that?
Having self-doubt and stress. How do they correlate?
Anxiety and stress. So anxiety is your threat detection. Stress is your biological response to address the threat.
Repeat that, please.
So
Explain
anxiety is a threat detection, and stress is the biological response to deal with whatever the threat is. Right. So think of it like this. Think of anxiety like this. Anxiety is like your radar, right? Your radar picks up, oh shoot, there's an enemy coming, there's a threat coming, right? And then now think of your stress response as the alarm that goes off that says, soldiers, get ready, there's an enemy coming, right? Now this works well. The way it's supposed to work is your anxiety catches, it's the alarm. I'm sorry, it's not the alarm. Anxiety is the radar. It catches that the enemies are coming, right? Or the threat's coming. Then it sets the alarm off in your brain for stress. Stress then goes and gets everything ready. And then you go and deal with the threat. That burns off all the chemicals and stuff that your body develops. And then your body goes back to normal resting rate, right? Everything's good. That's how it's supposed to happen, right?
Okay.
Very short response, very quick response, or I mean, I say short and quick. I mean, like for the duration of whatever the thing is. Maybe it's you're preparing for a meeting. Maybe it's a task you got to take care of. As puts a lot of stress on your body or whatever. But the way it works is that whatever you're doing burns off the chemicals, and afterwards you feel good, right? You might be tired or exhausted because your body is going revving at a high level, but then because you burn through it, everything is good. That's how the normal response is supposed to happen. Not a bad thing, right? Remember, your brain is your ally. Your emotions, the pleasant and unpleasant, they're all your allies and not your enemies. Okay. What ends up happening is, like I said before, your brain doesn't distinguish between what's real and what's fake. So if your brain, if it perceives a threat, so it thinks a threat's coming, it's then the alarm goes off, stress happens, but there's nothing to burn off the thing, right? There's nothing to do, right? Because you're stressing about something, or you're having anxiety about something that's not real in this world, or nothing you can do anything about. So because you can't burn it off, what ends up happening, those things, the cortisol and all those other hormones, they stay stuck in your body. And it wears you out. It's like redlining a car, right? Redline a car to get to a light, fine, right? You let off the gas, you're good. Go back to regular speed. But imagine if you just kept redlining and kept redlining and kept redlining, your car, the engine's going to blow. And that's what happens with us as men. We keep redlining. Oh, you're supposed to be a man. Keep redlining. Keep doing it, right? We're responding and having anxiety, and it's over and over. We're not addressing it. We're not talking about it. We're not processing it. And then boom. We break down, boom, we do something drastic, and a lot of these guys, I'm sure you've heard of like midlife crises and things like that. That's stress.
That's stress, huh? It's just coming out in a different way.
It's coming out in a different way.
Right.
Like, hey, why is he hopping on a motorcycle? Why is he spending all this money? Why is he getting a divorce and getting an 18-year-old girl? Like, what the crap is going on with him? Like, this man's losing his mind. Yeah. Because there's all this buildup and he's not processing it to recognize, hey, maybe you need to have that purpose. Maybe you're worn out. Maybe you go to marriage counseling. Maybe you need to leave that business. Maybe you got too much going on. Maybe you need to go do yoga. Like, he's not talking about it. And then so when it happens and it blows up, everyone's looking at him like he's crazy, but that's what happens. Like, don't look at someone like they're crazy when when the car engine blows, but they've been redlining for the last mile or 2 or 3 miles or something like that. You don't look at that. You looks like, that makes sense. It makes sense why your engine just makes sense is why you're losing your mind and going crazy. So
guys, that we flew by in our time. Doc went off for a little while. You're gonna see Doc goes off on things like this because it's passionate about it. But guys, we wanted to end this right here. Guys, if you're watching this on TikTok, if you're watching this on Facebook, if you're watching this on YouTube, please leave us a comment. We're going into food production mode 2026. Be aware for a lot of things, the schedulings and giving out between me, Carrie, Doc, business manager. We're going to all have it into an ecosystem where you can get all the things you need to survive. Guys, this is Gordon Watt from Boundaries and Brotherhood.
Guys, take care. Have a great and blessed day. It's Dr. Keith Fairclough, Boundaries and Brotherhood and Freedom Change Success. We'll see y'all later. Y'all take care.
All right. Hello.
All right.
Bye.